Good evening, Gloucestershire families. Hello, I'm Sarah Mobbs.
Edward Mobbs.
We run Empire Fitness Coaching. We have, just like a little plug.
Right on cue.
We've been invited to talk to you by Katie, which is really lovely of her. And we're really excited to share some tips with you on nutrition tonight. Going to do our best to stay away from fitness. Katie specifically asked.
Don't make it about fitness.
Don't make it about fitness. Just nutrition today. So hopefully we'll be able to talk to you about fitness at another time. But yeah, just nutrition. And the brief was 5 simple ways to make your nutrition a little bit better. And obviously look at the ways you can lose weight with regard to those tips. So that's what we're going to do for you. So should we kind of give our 5?
I think, yeah, that's the way we need to do it. So basically we'll go into each one.
I've got my iPad here as well, so if you see me looking down, it's because I obviously popped a couple of posts earlier in the week and last week asking if anyone had specific questions they wanted answering. So we are going to answer those for you, and I've got my iPad so that I can remember what they were, and we'll answer them after we've kind of gone through.
Yeah, let's go through everything, just nail the questions at the end.
Improve nutrition. So thank you all for watching. Who have we got? Hi Katie, hi Abby. And I think there's a few more people but I can't see. So if anyone's got any questions that you want to ask or anything that pops up for them that they need to ask something about, please drop it in the comments and I will, I'll come to it at the end. And yeah, just give us some hearts if stuff resonates, and obviously drop a number 1 if you're watching live.
Give us some hearts anyway, show some love.
Or please drop a number 2 or a hashtag replay if you're watching on replay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to find the questions so that I'm ready. Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. So we've got our 5 top tips on how to simply improve your nutrition and lose weight whilst doing so. So we're going to give you these, and number 1 we thought was hydration.
Because it is ultimately, it's the single most important thing that your body cannot function and cannot survive without. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, it's still a massive problem for most people. Most people, about 87% of people, are dehydrated every single day. One of the signs, and you may well know this, but it's quite obvious. If you're thirsty, you're dehydrated. Oh,
I thought you were going to say something else then. I was coaching somebody the other day and I literally said to her, "What colour is your pee?" She was like, "What kind of a question is that?" But
I was trying to keep it professional and you just went straight to the gutter.
So yeah, what's going in and what's coming out. So
yeah.
Are you thirsty? You need to drink some more.
To
the
just
colour of
jump
what's
in on that,
out.
yeah, if your wee is dark, if it's not clear, you're dehydrated.
Clear is what we're aiming for. As close to clear is great. Yeah.
If it's a brown kind of colour, you really need
or
to start
even yellow.
drinking
I think
water.
a lot of people think yellow pea's fine, and to be honest, it's not.
Yeah. It should be clear.
It should
Let's
be clear
on that.
Yeah. So obviously, if you're off clear, drink some more. And this is going to be a common theme with what we say to you tonight. Test and measure. Everyone's different. So test what these things do for your body. You're going to have a different point to what... so I'll have a different point in terms of what I input as to what point my pee becomes clear than Ed will. We're different sizes. We do different things. We drink different things. I've just seen somebody's put is there any truth in the fact that tea is bad for you for hydrating.
Well, it's a diuretic, or anything which has caffeine in it, any drink that has caffeine in it, i.e. tea, is a diuretic. So it's your body needs a lot of water to process that. So basically what it does is it kind of...
doesn't give you the
full... It takes the water out of your body to a certain extent. So an easy way of looking at it, if you drink a cup of tea, you would need that much water again to get back to where you were.
So yes, it's not great for hydration.
Yeah.
Nothing but water is really. Well,
unfortunately, this is unpopular, but you really, in terms of hydration, you shouldn't drink anything but water. Now, especially in Britain, we love cups of tea, we love coffee, etc., etc. It's all fine in moderation, but just understand that anything with caffeine in it, and the more caffeine, the more the effect. So say like a strong coffee is going to dehydrate you. Especially, this is a thing that most people do. The first thing they do when they wake up in the morning is they have a coffee, and it's really not good for your health. I'm not saying coffee's bad per se, because it's not.
And it can be good in certain...
Again,
we don't want to talk about training, but it can be an aid, but not for hydration.
Absolutely must have water first thing every single day without fail. for health. Obviously that makes your fitness, your training better, but this is just for health, for everyone's health. Water first thing in the morning, every single morning, at least a pint of water before you have anything else.
And obviously we're doing simple steps, aren't we? So obviously we know that kind of lots of our audience, not just now but in general, aren't doing these things. So when we say a pint of water in the morning, any pint of water in the morning, but once you get a bit more into it and you've made that a really solid habit, you can kind of get into the temperature of the water and all sorts.
Yeah.
So there's like lots of
Steps
deeper, but
it's
for now, just make sure that you're really nicely hydrated. Water first thing in the morning. As a general rule of thumb, and this is going to be massively generalised, the minimum anyone really should be drinking is 2 litres, isn't it?
A 24-hour period.
Pure water.
Yes. Not flavoured water, not squash.
No, not fruit
Diet
tea. And then with regard to the amount of exercise or your output that you're doing or your size, as we go away from the average person, that average or minimum requirement is going to change and get bigger. It's pretty much never going to get smaller for an adult, is it?
So going back to me and you, comparing me to Sarah, if we're both training a lot, I will need quite a substantial amount more water than Sarah. If we're not training at all, I still need more water. But basically, let's say for a ballpark figure, 2 litres per day, non-negotiable, and then another litre for each hour of hard exercise. So say I go to a circuits class in the evening, I need to, throughout the duration and straight after that, consume another litre.
So I've just seen Abby's put, I hate plain water, and I get this a lot from the clients that I coach. You do too, don't you? And the simple answer is, well, grow to love it. There's ways that you can implement habits that will be helpful, but there's also other ways you can drink water. So if you hate plain water, add some lemons and limes to it, like the fruit.
Just literally squeeze it in there.
Or blueberries or strawberries or whatever, and they can float about. Or you can, and if it's cold water that you don't like, I've had this a lot recently with my coaching clients. In the winter, people are like, oh, I'm okay at hydrating in the summer, but when it gets to winter, I don't really want to be drinking cold water, and I get it. So our kind of counter to that, and it's been really helpful for a lot of people, is obviously drink boiled water, and you can obviously drink it at any temperature as it cools down, whatever suits you.
Warm water, actually, some people don't know this, warm water will rehydrate you more effectively than cold water. So say a hot summer's day, you're very thirsty, you've just worked out, you actually get better hydration through warm water than you will cold water.
And that's obviously just because it
doesn't need to be heated up by your body.
Get into
process,
the layers that it needs to. I keep trying to, my iPad's fiddling around, sorry. So I think the only thing that we should probably cover that we haven't with regard to hydration is, well, I've got 2 more things. You can Ed, please give us an overview on why we want to be hydrated.
Well, basically, without going too basic with it, it's going to keep you alive. It's going to make everything in your body work better. It makes your mind work better, so your mood is better. Your joints are more supple. Your muscle flexibility is increased. I think I mentioned your mood is always better. So everything and anything in your life becomes worse if you're dehydrated. Absolutely anything.
With regard to losing weight,
it helps your metabolic rate stay high. And another thing with weight loss, a lot of times when people are thirsty, they may mistake that signal for being hungry. So if you're never dehydrated, you're not going to encounter that, which is going to make weight loss, fat loss easier. So it will make your metabolic rate stay higher, and your general health through hydration will be better. So in all areas of your life, you'll function better.
And if you don't know, the metabolic rate is obviously the rate at which you burn energy, calories, and the way you can obviously get rid of body fat. So just to clear that up.
Pretty vital.
And then I think my biggest tip for this number 1 point, we've spent way too long on water, could have done a whole live on water, is if I have clients that struggle with not liking plain water, obviously there's ways to kind of keep it plain and whole and not kind of be the fruit tea or whatever, but add different things that they might enjoy. And the other thing to kind of bear in mind is have a look at whatever bottle size you normally drink from, or cup or whatever, And say you've got had somebody recently that didn't want to entertain the idea of a big 2-litre jug. Ed has a 2-litre jug. I hate it. I think it's the most horrendous thing that's ever made and known to man. So I like my 500ml ones, so I would need at least 4 of those a day. So if for someone that this is going to be a new habit being introduced, I would suggest that you kind of look at your day, pop in 4 alarms if you're drinking from a 500ml container, flask or whatever, bottle, cup, whatever it is, and make sure that you're refilling that and emptying it 4 times in a day. So I would have an alarm at about 10, 1, 4, 7 or 8, and I've made sure that you've got rid of 4 of those in a day. So yeah, that's it. Point number 1.
That's like you said, we could go on, but you get the idea. And if that seems overwhelming, start where you are and just make little improvements.
Increases and improvements.
Any improvement is going to help. That's where you want to get to, but wherever you are now, just aim to improve on that.
Yeah, cool. Our second simple way to improve your nutrition and lose weight is going to be all around protein. So protein gets a bit of not a bad rep, but people are like, ooh, bodybuilders eat protein. This is for like if you want to be like a strong man, and that's not true at all.
Completely wrong.
Really aids fat loss, and I'll let Ed explain why.
Well, again, going back to the metabolic rate, when protein levels are low in your body, your metabolic rate will drop. When the protein levels increase, the metabolic rate rises, making it easier to burn fat. Ultimately, protein is essential for so many functions in your body, everything from your hair quality, your nail quality, your teeth. All of these things are linked to enough protein being in your body, and if not, they will all suffer. But yeah, in terms of what we're looking at, just basic points, most of us have been brought up to believe that we don't need to eat that much protein. It's a very it's a cultural thing where most people eat,
in Britain.
Yeah, most people eat lots of starchy carbs, not particularly good ones a lot of the time as well, and not enough protein. We've got to turn that round. If you are interested in making your health better, eat more protein in general. Most people don't eat enough protein, nowhere near. And now that, again, when you're active, you need even more protein. So wherever you are at the moment, if you don't have any idea when we talk about things like macros, if you don't know what that term means, almost certainly you will not be eating enough protein in terms of an ideal intake per day for your body.
Most people, I think from our experience, would be able to literally double the protein they're eating and still maybe not just about touch what they should be eating a day. So yeah, as a general rule of thumb, I'd go for it. Try and double what you're eating in protein. I'll tell you what it'll do. It will reduce the amount of carbs on your plate. Not that carbs are the enemy, because they are not. But obviously, physically, if you're doubling the protein, you just won't be able to fit as much of anything else in. And when I say carbs, that could be like the other starch on your plate, or in terms of sugary snacks and stuff throughout the day. If you're eating enough protein, there will just simply not be enough room for everything else.
Let me jump on that. That's a great point, because if you're not eating enough protein, you will not feel sustained. When you don't feel sustained, you'll naturally want to go for things that will give you quick fixes, usually sugary stuff, snacks, junk. When you eat enough protein, you will not feel that as much.
You won't.
So, sorry, I
jumped in there. And actually, that answers somebody's. Hayley had a question, and I can remember it, and it was just about. I know Hayley's doing keto at the moment, and she said, "Why don't I have those cravings anymore?" And partially it's going to be that, isn't it? When you've reduced the carbs and you are filling up on proteins,
yes,
that's going to be why. And the other reason is obviously habit-based. So as soon as you get out of that habit of reaching for sugary, carby things, literally the receptors in your brain, the wiring in your brain changes, and you're not craving those things anymore, just literally through changing the habit. So that'll answer Hayley's question. We're rushing a bit now, but I know we've been ages already, so let's I've got a couple more things on protein, but we won't be able to get into them. So just in terms of the quality of your food, make sure that it's as fresh as it can be. Anything obviously that is by sort of day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5 in your fridge after it's been made or picked or whatever
starts deteriorating. The quality of the nutrients reduces. And also in terms of protein, you hear the term lean protein. It's much better to have, say, a grilled chicken breast than a deep fried chicken leg or whatever it might be.
Yeah, okay, cool. So third simple way to improve your nutrition, we've got planning and prep on our list, haven't we? We kind of ranked that third. I think really that bulk prep and cook it, like trying to cook from scratch is definitely always the way forward. Cooking anything or whatever you eat or ingest, if it doesn't have not much does not have a label these days, but if it doesn't have a label and it doesn't have anything added to it and it's a whole food essentially, you're not going to go far wrong. And yeah, that's kind of planning and prep's going to be your friend completely. And I've got snacks written down on my list, and that's because if you can prep and plan what you're going to be eating throughout the week, and that's another point on this, meal planning your week on pen and paper, making sure you've included breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, then you will only shop for those things, then you've only got in the house those things. And if you're only eating from your meal plan, you know you're going to be sort of on point. And planning is your friend, basically.
It's so important just to get organised. You need a plan of action, i.e. you need a shopping list that's going to serve you. You need to make sure you buy what's on the list and you don't buy what's not on the list. Little tip on that, don't go food shopping if you're hungry.
Or without a list.
make sure you've eaten before, make sure you've got a list. And then snacks
as well, again, back to snacks. If you've prepped and planned your snacks, that means that you're going to be grabbing some pre-cooked chicken or something as a snack, which I think in the UK is not something we'd associate as being a snack, but it definitely is. It's something that'll serve you and get you to goals, rather than a packet of Walker's crisps or Cadbury's chocolate bar, which I think is massively bred into us right from when we're kids and we have a lunchbox and that's what it's filled with, all the way up to adulthood, and then it's like, oh my god, I'm on the road driving in a sales job or whatever and I just need to grab something from a garage. You know, we need to change those patterns of thought, and even if you are in that situation, you can always go to like an M&S garage or something and they've got like roasted chicken bites with literally nothing added, nothing taken away. So there are ways and means around it. It's just being creative and being prepared really for those situations.
Another point on that, driving around, we've trained a lot of people who do driving for a living, and I tell them all, and it's something that makes such a big difference. Get a cool bag or a cool box, keep it with you, prepare your own food, prepare your snacks. And you don't even need to go down that rabbit hole of, I wonder what's in the garage today, or what's on 2 for 1.
And you can't use the excuse of, I couldn't take my lunch with me because I needed a fridge. It is easily avoided, and it will serve you. So you've got to come up with these things that are going to serve you.
And it's getting in the habit of doing that. It can seem overwhelming at the start, but I guarantee once you start doing it and you start feeling the improvement, it becomes almost second nature.
Yeah, cool. Number 4, vegetables. Basically, you can't OD on vegetables. Get as many as you can in. They're super important. We're obviously told from children, eat your veg, but there are reasons behind that. One of the main ones is that they are one of the biggest carriers of all of your micronutrients, so vitamins and minerals and stuff that we really need to make our bodies work.
Absolutely. Help your body function better. Again, you can't really overeat vegetables. You're never going to think, I've just had too much broccoli this week. It just doesn't happen. So the more dark green veg and the more colours in general that you can get in your diet, the better. They all play a different role in terms of making your body function at a higher level. And when you're not getting those things in your diet regularly, your body and your feelings and your thoughts and your moods will reflect that. If you're filling your plate with beige, you're going to encounter a lot of problems. If it's a very colourful plate, if it's got a lot of veg on it consistently, your body, your health will reflect that.
And just quickly on that point before we leave it as well, the best way to eat any veg is raw, not something that most people enjoy. So if you do, great, and if you don't, when you cook it, obviously the more you cook it, the more of those micronutrients and vitamins and minerals are lost into whatever method you're cooking it in. So if you can't eat it raw, eat it crunchy and just lightly steam it. And if you can't do that, steam it a bit more. But when we're getting into like boiling things for ages, far longer than they need, they're mushy and all the nutrients have been lost into the water. That's not ideal. However, my husband here does have an awesome plan for when that happens.
Well, this is one I do.
If it's by accident and you've overboard the water, or if you just want to be a super health freak.
Yeah, then what you do is you get your calendar or whatever, tip the veg out into the colander and let the water go into a mug and literally drink it like a cup of tea. So,
a weak soup is what I'm often told.
A weak soup.
It's like,
it's one of those things. It's not. I don't think anyone reaches for it and think, oh, thank God I can finally drink that. But it serves a purpose, and it's just full of vitamins.
To be honest,
and minerals.
people definitely drink far worse things. Like I've seen somebody doing like a celery juicing thing and all sorts recently. So, broccoli water I think I could handle. And then number 5, this is a really big takeaway. Just avoid diets and quick fixes. So slimming clubs are they're the enemy to us. Yeah. I'm not gonna be PC.
That. Let's just say avoid diets.
Avoid diets. It's got to be sustainable. It's got to be a way of life. It's got to be something you enjoy. It's got to be something that isn't too restrictive. The minute you start restricting is when you start to like be on or off the wagon, and that's just a recipe for disaster. Also, if you, like we're in Gloucestershire Families group, it's got to be something that fits with your family and fits with everybody else. We know that people don't want to be cooking something just for them and their goals and then something else for everybody else around the table, i.e. your family. It's got to fit in with life, and if it doesn't, that's where you're going to become unstuck, because it's not going to be sustainable.
When things are not sustainable, it causes damage in terms of self-esteem, because people go on diets, they get a bit of an improvement, i.e. dramatic weight loss in a week or two. They can't sustain it, they gain the weight back and then usually some more, and physically and mentally there's damage done by that, and it starts you on that horrible path that I've trained so many people who have been on, where it's year after year after year of trying ridiculous things that won't work long term and building up a lot of negativity in their self around their relationship with food. And food's something we should celebrate and enjoy, not feel trapped by or kind of guilty about.
Yep, I agree. And that's it for our 5 simple ways to change your nutrition up and also to lose weight. On the way that was termed, so losing weight, I would suggest don't be worried about your weight. It's not particularly relative. I'd be more worried about your overall general health and your body fat percentage, and making sure that is within a healthy range for you, and that's going to be different for everybody.
If you are going to weigh yourself, get some proper scales that will measure everything, body fat, your visceral fat, your muscle mass,
your water levels,
everything. Pay the money for those. If you're
and
jumping,
you can pick them up really cheap actually on that score. I think like they all pretty much do the same thing. They're all fairly accurate. We're lucky that we live in this day and age where stuff is quite accurate now. So they're not going to be the most, they're not going to be like clinically accurate, but they're going to be accurate enough for you to use at home and just keep a general eye on things. And one of our clients recently picked them up for $11.99 in Lidl, I think, Lidl or Aldi, like in the middle bit. So it doesn't need to be expensive. We get ours, I've got a link that I suggest of a slightly higher calibre, but they don't break the bank. They're about 30 quid. So if anyone wants that, feel free to ping me a message and I'll get that across to you. And then on to our comments and questions. So we had, let me just check I'm going the right way. Yeah. So Kerry asked if you need to eat before working out, what's the best thing to eat? Or if you need a simple dinner after working out, what's best? So first point on that, I would say, as long as you've got your energy, there is layers to it, like there is to all questions. Is you need to have your energy kind of leveled out, and your nutrition and your fuel leveled out throughout a day and a week, so that you know if you oh god, I'm getting like really deep in my head in this. If you want to go out for a strength session or a run or whatever at any point, and you've digested whatever it is you've just eaten enough to be able to do that, you should just be able to. You shouldn't really need to kind of fuel up, or unless you're literally running like double marathons or something.
And then you need to do what's known as carb loading, but that's a whole different rabbit warren.
But probably just like if you really needed something like a banana pre-workout.
One thing I would say actually, which is to this point is very important, before and after training, you wouldn't want anything that's high in fat. Fat's hard to break down, it's hard to digest, it takes a long time. So you wouldn't gain the energy from it very quickly, but also you'd feel sluggish, and it slows down after training. Fat will slow down the absorption of the proteins. So ideally after training, simple sugars and proteins straight after, and obviously water. And before, I would say similar. simple sugars, fruits, bananas, etc., and protein, but not so much protein before, more after. So if we're talking just for a session, it's basically simple sugars, so fruits ideal. Straight after, fruit and protein, and avoid fats around those times. The rest of the time, fat, happy days. It doesn't need to be demonised. It's a vital part of any diet.
Cool, thank you. Abby, is there any truth in eating dinner before 7 to lose weight? Weight, yes, depending on when you weigh. So if you weigh in the morning and you eat a big meal at 10 o'clock at night, or even 8 or 9, as opposed to eating it at 5 or 6, you're kind of getting into intermittent fasting a little bit. So obviously you're going to be asleep, you know, for some of those hours between eating and weighing. So you will see a difference in the scales if you eat earlier. Your body's got longer to digest it and all the rest of it. If you're talking about actually losing fat, I would say no, there isn't.
Yeah,
it's all about calorie deficit.
Calorie deficit, and if we're talking about fat loss, calorie deficit combined with regular exercise. So when you're eating the food, not really. The later you eat, the more it could potentially interfere with sleep, which would be detrimental to fat loss and just lifestyle in general.
So there's some different layers and factors to
again,
this again.
Unfortunately, these aren't yes or no answers.
And it's going to be different for everybody as well. But I think, yeah, so if you're talking about losing fat, no, eat whenever you want, just be in calorie deficit if that's what you're looking to do. If you're talking about losing weight, yeah, it could have an effect on the scale weight in the morning. And if you're talking about sort of bloat and the way you look and feel, it could have an effect.
Yeah.
Because it might do overnight. So second question from Abby: why doesn't porridge fill me up? I eat a bowl of overnight oats with fruit, fat-free yogurt, and 30 minutes later or less I'm hungry again. Why? I would say nowhere near enough protein in there. That
and
would
also
be why.
quantity, because porridge tends to be quite filling as long as it's good quality.
Yeah, quantity. So weigh your oats.
So I would say certainly, because I eat porridge most days, I'll have overnight oats pretty much as a standard, and it does fill me up. But yeah, I would say it's got to be down to quantity, because if you're eating good oats...
I was going to say it could be quality of the oats. If you're eating something like ready bread, kind of instant oaty stuff, that's not going to have anywhere near the quality that a proper whole or rolled oat would have. So that could be why. And also the fat-free yogurt, I'd make sure that it's a really good quality Greek yogurt. And it doesn't necessarily need to be fat-free, so it depends why you're looking to do that.
A higher protein yogurt will make you feel more sustained.
Hopefully that helps. Hayley, we've answered her question. And then just the final one from Jen: 5 small meals a day better than 3? I find it hard to eat more than a handful of food at a time. But looking after the family means it's easier to sit down 3 times a day for dinner. So I'm either eating too much during dinner and feeling sore and overstuffed and uncomfortable, or snacking a lot. I would just say you just need to do whatever's right for you. So if that means you need to eat 5 small meals to feel comfortable, then definitely do that. And the best way for you to do that, whilst also fitting in with family life, is going to be eat on the 3 times your family eats, whatever quantity and portion size you need to do, and have what they have to make life easier for you. And then the other 2 meals to make up your 5 a day, have them prepped, have them ready in Tupperware, and just knowing what you're going to eat. So
it ties in with the earlier point about prepping, being organised, having a plan.
And personally, I think we would both agree that as long as it fits in with your life, that's what's best, and that's going to be sustainable. But probably 5 small meals a day is, in theory, a bit better. It's easier for your body to break down and digest.
Yeah. And it keeps your
metabolic rate high and elevated, and your sugars and stuff sustained and level. But it just is what's best for you. But if you're finding that 5 a day is best for you, then definitely go for that. Stick with it. Make it work with family life. Anyway, I hope that's helped. I don't think we've missed any mega questions on there. Everyone have an amazing night. I've tagged us both in at the top. Hopefully the tags have worked, and I've also popped our business page on, so please feel free to give us a like, and definitely send us over a friend request. We love connecting with new people, especially Gloucestershire families. Thank you so much, and have a great night, everybody.
See you soon, guys.